What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, and then either build them or fix them together, depending on how they rank. Now, today we are talking about the Death Domain Cleric introduced in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and this is how you are basically an evil cleric. So, if you want to show your dark side, while also kind of healing things at the same time, this might be your ticket. So leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As you can see, most people who watch this channel are not subscribed, so please help us to be able to get where it is that we want to go, which is 1,000 by the end of this year. But I think we could get there much earlier than that with your continued support. Of course, make sure to share the video with your friends, and then of course click the bell so you're notified whenever new videos are uploaded. So the Death Domain Cleric is an interesting take on the Cleric and basically bolsters your necrotic damage dealing as well as your necromancy skills as a spellcaster. So it's a very interesting way to do the Cleric, but is it good? Is it bad? Let's find out. So at first level, we of course get our expanded spell list, and this spell list is interesting. The problem with this spell list is that most of these spells you already get as a cleric. There are a few exceptions. The notable one is Cloud Kill, and you don't get that normally, which is cool. At 9th level, you know, that's fine. But the rest of these are either or there's something you already got in the first place. So they're not useless necessarily, but they definitely don't earn full points since you could already have taken this anyway. So unfortunately, our ranking isn't going to be all that great here, and we're going to give this a 4 out of 10. We're only going to give half points to the ones that are useful that we already got. So yeah, we're not off to a good start. Also at first level, we get bonus proficiency where we pick up proficiency in martial weapons. Now, notably, we do not get proficiency with heavy armor. So if you're trying to be the frontline cleric with also a really cool weapon, this isn't your ticket. This is you're just getting the weapons, not the armor. So one thing to just keep in mind. So getting martial weapons is really nice, but we do not get heavy armor like what other subclasses do. So that's going to take away some points here. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. It's very good to get this, but it would have definitely been nice to get both. Also at first level, we get Reaper, and this gives us access to one additional cantrip from the Necromancy School. Now, this would be crazy and awesome if there were more than 4 options. There are only 4 options available to us, and you know, we already have 2 of them in Spare the Dying and Toll the Dead. So the other options we have are Chill Touch and Sapping Sting. Both of them not the worst by any means. One of them allows us to knock a other creature prone, and one allows us to actually prevent them from healing until the next turn. So both decent, I guess. But, you know, it's a cantrip, so what do you want to do? You also now, when you cast a cantrip from the Necromancy School, instead of targeting one creature, you can target a second one as long as it's standing within 5 feet of another one. How often is this going to happen? A lot less often than you think. A lot of times creatures aren't going to necessarily be bunched up like this, where they're within 5 feet of each other. So I don't know that this is necessarily going to come up all that often. So overall, as a feature, I've got to give this a 6 out of 10. I really can't go any higher because the list of spells is so limited, and because it's kind of situational when you're going to be able to target 2 creatures with that one cantrip. At second level, we of course get another Channel Divinity option, and this is called Touch of Death. So when you hit a creature with a melee attack, you can add extra damage to it equal to 5 plus your cleric level doubled. So the damage here is okay, right? Right now it's 9 damage, and that will scale as we go. How useful is it, and is it worth using your Channel Divinity on this rather than gaining spell slots? I don't know. And so this is kind of where we enter the weird spot of this subclass, where you get martial weapon proficiency, but you also then get stuff that helps your cantrips. Now we're getting something that helps our martial weapons again, and then we're going to get stuff that helps with our magic again. So this subclass is very confused on what it wants to do. It's not consistent in what it wants you to do, as far as, does it want you to be a weapon-based user? Does it want you to focus more on your spells? It's this kind of weird mix where it doesn't really specialize in either one, and so you end up with just this kind of weird mess. But as far as adding a little bit of extra damage, it's nice, but I don't know that it's necessarily worth using your Channel Divinity on over gaining a spell slot, which could have you dealing more than just this damage of any damage type, rather than it just being necrotic damage. So I think this is limited at best. It's okay, I guess, but it is what it is. So overall, this is going to be a 6 out of 10 as well. At 6th level, we get Inescapable Destruction, and this allows you to ignore resistance to necrotic damage from cleric spells and your Channel Divinity. So this definitely is an improvement, right? Because there's a lot of things that do resist necrotic damage, namely a lot of undead creatures, and of course, you know, this makes your Channel Divinity a little bit more worth using. Is it the best thing in the world? No. Is it nice to have? Sure, it is. It's definitely not a bad thing to have. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Being able to ignore resistance to that damage type is pretty nice, because there is a lot that has resistance to it. So that's pretty cool. It's not terrible. This is definitely the best feature we've had so far. At level 8, we get Divine Strike, and so this is yet another option that all clerics really get. So you get this, or you get access to adding your Wisdom modifier to your cantrips. So with this one, whenever you hit a creature with a weapon, you get to add 1d8 necrotic damage to the target, and then at 14th level, this increases to 2d8. So again, we're doubling down on the extra necrotic damage, so you could hit something with a weapon attack, and then you can blow your you could also blow your Touch of Death at the same time, and be dealing quite a bit of extra necrotic damage with your weapon all in one go. That's neat. It's pretty cool. It's a nice way to add just a little bit of extra damage, but again, you still don't have heavy armor proficiency, so being up in the fray isn't necessarily always the best thing, and it makes it tough, right? Again, this class is very confused on what it wants to do, because it helps you specialize in spells, and then it turns around and helps you specialize in weapons, and so each section of it just feels unfinished, unfortunately. So is this good? Yes, it's good. So it's cool. However, the thing about this is, though, this does not ignore resistance according to what your Inescapable Destruction says, and that's the kicker here, is necrotic damage dealt by cleric spells or your Channel Divinity options. Divine Strike does not fall under either of those, so this is still resisted damage. So as if it wasn't confusing enough to do the math on this, yeah, so now they're going to have resistance to some of the necrotic damage, but not all of it if you're facing a creature like that. That's clunky. Why doesn't Inescapable Destruction also include Divine Strike? Why isn't it all the time that you deal necrotic damage? Why is it so specific? That's a problem for me, and it makes this feature nowhere near as effective. So this is a 6 out of 10. Extra damage is nice, but if this is such a resisted damage type, and you have a feature right there that lets you get around it, but not with this feature, that's really dumb to me. I think that's just really poor design, unfortunately. Finally, at 17th level, we get Improved Reaper, and so we finally get to buff up our first level ability called Reaper. So what we get is now, instead of just cantrips applying to being able to target more than one creature, this now applies to 1st through 5th level spells. So now we include certain things such as Revivify, Raise Dead, those are necromancy spells, and plenty of other necromancy spells as well. So you could technically cast Revivify on 2 creatures as long as you can touch both of them and bring them both back to life in one go. That's incredibly useful. Same thing with Raise Dead and plenty of other spells like this. But again, it's 17th level that we're finally getting this feature. It's way too late to be getting something like this, and it just makes this so much worse. It just makes it so much harder. This feature, however, is a 10 out of 10 feature. But are you ever going to get to 17th level? Very rarely. So, final thoughts and our final ranking on the Death Domain Cleric. As you can tell, I've got some problems with this one, and it's just poorly designed. It's very confused in what it wants to do. It's trying to specialize in too many things and ends up just not specializing in anything. And yes, the flavor is amazing. The roleplay potential is very much there. I'm not knocking that at all. The problem is that it tries to help you with melee weapons, but then that falls short. And then it tries to help you with your spell casting, but then that also falls short because it's trying to spend so much time on each other. So it's just not a good subclass, unfortunately. So will it get you through? Sure. Is it the best subclass out there? Absolutely not. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. I think it's better than the Arcana domain, but only marginally. It's not much better by any means. So that is it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please let me know down in the comments below what you think of the Death Domain Cleric and if you would have ranked it differently. Until next time, when we fix this thing at the end of the week, I will see you all later. Stay safe out there, stay healthy, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.